My name's Edwin Foudil. I was born in the UK and I currently live in Switzerland. I'm a computer science student, and in my spare time I like to do security research and helping out in the security industry. I had this sort of combined interest in sort of design and so on, and bit by bit I got into web design and then web development, and then slowly, of course, then into security, and got hooked into security, finding bugs and reporting security issues. Currently doing that basically all the time. The thrill that I get out of trying something new, discovering some new technology, is something that I've always loved. I've always loved experimenting, playing around with stuff. So hacking allows me to not only break stuff, build stuff. I get to really learn about what I'm playing around with. I think at first you don't usually comprehend what you found. There's this sort of moment, this sort of surprise moment where you think, is that right? Did I get that right? It's probably something wrong with what I've done. And eventually you start piecing things together and you're like, oh, okay, this is an awesome issue. Let's go and sit down and see if we can possibly escalate it or just report it to the team, have some fun with the team. I like the old school mentality of hacking where it doesn't necessarily mean that you're breaking something. Somebody who's building something can be a hacker, but it's just that you're thinking outside of the box. You're thinking creatively. Even a designer to me can even be a hacker. You're really trying to find some ways to create something or break something in ways that weren't even really described or previously seen before. It's crazy. I mean, a year ago, I told my family I'm going to these events with a bunch of hackers to go and break stuff. I don't think anybody would believe me. So the TLDR for the whole event is meeting people, networking, meeting some awesome hackers, and finally getting to meet the actual teams on the other side. So as you're reporting issues, you often forget there's a human on the other side, and getting to meet the human element on the other side is it's crazy. It opens all sorts of opportunities. And also for the reports, I find different things because I'm with the team and they understand the technology. So for me, it's a different approach, different target altogether. So it's all a learning experience. Great event for that sort of stuff. The wonderful thing about this community is that we're all sort of trying to support each other, even in a competitive environment. I find people publishing write-ups, sharing knowledge. The security industry in general, I think, is a very healthy environment. I think we're all very welcoming. I love working with newcomers and people who have been in the industry for years. And there's nobody really judging you based on who you are or your age or where you're from. So especially for me, as one of the young ones, it's like, oh, this is great. I get an opportunity to work with everybody. I'm mostly saving up. As a student, this is sort of great pocket money if I ever want to do something with friends. I'm not necessarily the person going and buying a car. I've seen some pretty cool things that people will come up with, but I think that time will come eventually. I'm actually wearing it right now. It's my HackerOne hoodie. When I was in Albuquerque, we had a CTF that was built by Yogurts, and that was in the worst situation possible. I was in a camper van in the middle of nowhere. Didn't have really internet access or anything, and I had to race onto my phone to submit the solution. It makes this swag so rewarding, and the story is just crazy. So I chose initially to hack on HackerOne because that was the very first platform that I approached when I saw Swisscom were using them. So I was a non-platform hacker for a long time, working with Swisscom. And I got used to the platform. I like the design, I like the style, and I've really got used to every functionality. And for me, simplicity is really important, and having a simple workflow is what I really get with HackerOne at the moment. SECURITY.TXT, in summary, is basically the steps that a website wants to instruct the hacker to take when they report a security issue. It's a simple text file that resembles robots.txt, with a couple directives such as contact address, policy location, and so on. And the hacker, that if they find an issue, they can just approach the security.txt file and report an issue. For the most part, what people are doing is they're taking all the various components and my specification, they're looking at how can we implement this and make it as easy as possible for others to put together. And there are people writing software that evaluates security.txt files. There's somebody who just wrote a whole service that checks the whole web for these files and then stores them in all these various versions. So if I want to go and see the previous version, what has the policy changed and so on, I can go and review it on this website. The open source community is just absolutely crazy. There are people who come up with all sorts of fantastic ideas.